6:30, call the meeting to order. Certified compliant with the open records law.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Hartung.
Here.
Councilmember Hooker.
Here.
Councilmember Raisler.
Here.
Councilmember Schneider.
Here.
Councilmember Schofield.
Here.
All six are present.
Next we'll have the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second. Our clerk had to step out.
Oh.
We'll give those. That's okay.
No.
Now we can go ahead.
Meeting's over.
Yeah.
Meeting's over.
Yeah. So make a motion to adopt the agenda. And a second. So, Councilmember Hooker and Councilmember Schneider. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The agenda is adopted. Next, we move on to public comments. The floor is open for anybody to speak to the council. Please identify yourself for the record.
Well, Leanna Bender.
Yeah, this would be the opportunity, yeah.
So you guys know I'm with the Durand job clerk. We do have some updates we want to give you guys. I don't know if you want to sit and listen to them now or if we want to get on the next Parks Committee agenda.
How long are you going to take?
I can be quick.
Yeah, I mean, just give us, give the highlights or give the,
Sure.
and put that, so, and
Okay.
I think that should be fine.
So the State Farm grant, we find out next week if we are eligible for that. We have a fundraiser on the 23rd with the Pepin County Humane Society. We have received quite a few donations. We received $500 from Pelkey Plumbing, $500 from Durand Chiropractic, $500 from Oak Alley Cheese Factory, $1,000 from Larson Kennels, $1,000 from Advent, and we are expecting around $1,000 from FunFest as well. Purina is going to be helping us with the corporate application for their funding. Sometime this April, Sharon was just finishing up a big project. And then we are also hoping to put out some giant tennis balls in the community, but it's hard to find giant tennis balls. Sorry, we're going to drill a hole in them so people can donate in there.
Oh, okay, that's sort of what the judge said.
Anyone have any questions about the updates?
Any questions from the council?
That fundraiser, April 23rd?
Yep. Okay.
Sounds like you're moving along.
Yeah, we've received quite a few baskets for the raffle, so we're pretty excited about that. Lots of support for the raffle, and yeah.
And what's the fundraiser, where and when?
Yep, it'll be in Tarrant Park. It's with the Pepin County Humane Society Doggy Easter egg hunt
Oh,
that they do
okay.
every year. So we're going to take over their basket raffle and be serving the food there too. So.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Thank you for the update. Again, public comments are open. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to the council? Please identify yourself for the record. Hearing none, no scheduled appearances, we move on to the consent agenda. The following matters may be acted upon by the city council utilizing a single vote. Individual items which any member wishes to address in greater detail or as a separate item on the regular agenda may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any council member. We have the minutes from the regular city council meeting from March 23rd, 2022, and bartender license for Darganian W. Sinclair for the Cobblin and Sweets. I do apologize if I pronounced that.
I believe the minutes are for the 9th, not the 23rd.
Oh, that's right, we didn't have. So correction on that would be for the 9th. Remember we did meet. Okay, one correction to the consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It is approved. Next, we move on to the business agenda. Mayor's report, just a few things to talk about. The Finance Committee did get together and start talking about wages. I know we were talking about looking at the wage study, a number of other government from the county and then statewide, just to get an idea of where we sit especially for communities our size. That was sort of the start of the process to sort of look at the wages and see where we're going with ours. Quite a bit of information was presented, and obviously we will continue to move along. One good news, the state law has been passed. The governor signed the new law into place for Medicaid and Medicare. So it looks like we should be able to get higher reimbursements for the ambulance. That's obviously, we've been capped at some numbers that make our budget extremely difficult. But with this, I don't know how quickly, I'm assuming once this information, be able to sit down with the director and city administrator, and they'll start to determine that we may be able to, when we can start seeing some higher reimbursements for our Medicaid and Medicare patients, which are quite a few that use our ambulance service. Was approached about a Civil War reenactment type thing for students. It's going to be May the 17th. It's going to be in the old courthouse square. There's some folks coming in. They got students from Durand and Pepin going to be there. The public is invited from 2 until 4 in the afternoon. But they'll be doing this throughout the day. It sounds like some of with the area with school staff and some retired staff have put together a nice event. Reorganizational meeting will be held next Tuesday, the 19th at 5:30. Of course, that's the day we have to do it according to state statutes. We'll obviously go ahead, swear in the new members, and then also committees and so on. It won't be a very long meeting, but again, we will meet our statutory requirement about reorganizing on the 19th. Again, that meeting is at 5:30. The last thing I'd like to do is obviously thank Councilmember Schneider, Councilmember Hartung. This was their last meeting. To take the effort to participate in local government, especially as elected official, can be trying at times, and to put yourself out there. And obviously the good work that you folks have done while you've served on this council. And I would probably expect that you guys aren't disappearing anywhere and still be part of the community and still so on and continue those good things. So on behalf of myself and the city, obviously, thanks to both of you for your efforts over the last 4 years, correct? You both served 4 years. So again, my thanks and also the thanks on behalf of the city. That's all I've got. Is there any questions? Hearing none, nothing came off consent agenda, so we move on to, because of the fact that the city administrator notice is not here, so instead of having a administrator's report, we're going to have just an election update from the city clerk.
The past election, we just used our new voting equipment for the very first time. It went over very well. The machines are real similar to what we had in the past, so it wasn't a huge change for any of the voters. Just getting used to a little bit different screen. We had 295 voters, which is pretty good for a spring election. It was about 30%. So pretty happy with the turnout that we had. And we had 31 absentee voters. So everything went really well. The counting at the end of the night, it just told us things a little bit different, so we had to just go through and match up everything, but it went really well. It didn't take any longer than what it normally does for an election. So everything went really well. Anybody have any questions?
Wasn't any quicker on the end of it either?
No. You still have to total up all the paper ones and all the others, so. But it's the new machines do pack up really nice. And setup is a lot easier. So very excited about the new machines.
And any other questions for the city clerk? None. We move on to public safety. I don't know if we had anything from the police department that he submitted. I do know that the chief was unavailable tonight, and but we'll hear from him at the next meeting. Fire department, Chief King.
You guys got the report in front of you. We did 9 calls last month, 2 in the city, 7 in rural. Other than that, not much to update on. We've been preparing for the fundraiser here on May 14th. It's kind of where all of our time's been going lately. So. Unless you guys got questions. We did tour the new Putnam County Highway Shop as part of our last month's training. So all of our members got in there, got to see the layout, where all the stuff that we like to see, the fuse panels, the fire suppression system, all the electrical. So that was thanks to the county for letting us come in after hours.
The one other thing is the rural fire is having their annual meeting
Yep.
coming up on the 20th, correct?
Next, a week from tonight.
And again, that's their meeting, but anybody from the council who would like to come and
Yep.
obviously sit in and watch the meeting is fine. It's 7 PM up at the fire hall.
Me and Scott had a meeting Monday morning with Don, went over some more stuff about merging with the truck stuff. Scott is coming to the meeting on Wednesday night, so there's nothing really happening. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now. They want to put some stuff on paper to see if they want to just do the truck portion of the split, or if they want to go the full way right away. So that's something they're negotiating on and putting numbers on paper to see where things would come out. So I know the rural and the city wanted the new truck thing done by the rural annual meeting. That is not going to happen after Monday. They decided to just put everything on paper to see if it's feasible to go as a district right now, or if to just do the truck thing that was agreed upon. What was that, back in January, I think you guys did?
Yeah.
So it's kind of in a holding pattern, just to see. Either way, they're still going to sign, and we'll do the truck stuff going forward, 70/30. But they, in their discussions, they just said, let's put this stuff on paper and see if it's feasible to move all the way right now, or just hold on. So it probably won't get discussed a whole lot at their annual meeting, just because they got to get their numbers down on paper to see how everything will come together. So, other than that, I don't have nothing unless you guys got stuff for me.
Plenty of tickets available for the
The
raffles over
fundraiser, the main raffle tickets are getting sparse already. And the kids raffle, the four-wheeler, I don't know if you guys seen that, we're giving away a little kids Can-Am four-wheeler. Them tickets are flying. We're only printed, it's only 500 sold. So if anybody here wants anybody listening on TV, you better get them before they're gone. So we're way ahead of schedule on ticket sales.
Okay, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I got them.
I may try to request it by tonight. That's about it. I do that, so. Okay, any other questions for the fire chief? Nothing from ambulance as far as we know? Okay. And the big one, Public Works, Engineers Report. Russ?
Yes, good evening. Just a quick report tonight. Update on your 2021 project. Third Ave, Dryer and Laneville. Driven the project. Matt has looked at it too with Kevin Hankis in our office. Looks like it fared well through the winter. Grass that was starting to come in on Third, still green, looks good. We just have some minor punch list items with both contractors, A1 and skid steer guy, to take care of for the next couple months and wait for some more warm weather and confirm that we get full restoration. Where we don't have full restoration, the contractor will come back in and touch up some spots. But overall, it fared well through the winter, so glad to see that. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions for the city engineer? Hearing none, move on to the monthly report. Superintendent Gillis?
Yeah, a quick report. We had a water main break we found yesterday. We repaired it this morning. Albertons came to town, dug it up. We started digging at, about 7:30, turned the water off at 8 and had everything turned on by about 10 o'clock and backfilled and out of there by close to 11 o'clock. So everything went well. There's about a foot and a half lateral split in the main. So put a repair band on it, and it's up on Off Street, about 150 feet down from the one we had on Christmas Day. So that one's all taken care of. Hydrant flushing will be commencing. The ad should be in the paper tomorrow. Over the next 6 weeks, we have our hydrant flushing program that will be out flushing hydrants and flushing mains. The guys have been out sewer flushing dead ends this last week. They just wrapped that up today as well. And the spring cleanup, our annual spring cleanup, it'll be in the paper next week. The dates are Saturday, September, Saturday, April 23rd to Sunday, May 8th will be the cleanup. That is 3 weekends for residents to get their leaves. Yard debris, I want to touch on that. This is for yard debris, not to cut down a tree and haul the whole tree to the boulevard for the city to remove. We will not do that. You will get a letter stating that, and you will pay to remove that. So this is yard debris, basically leaves and sticks that have fell through the winter. This is not the time to trim your trees, prune your trees. Those are still your responsibility to take care of. The list of rules and regulations will be printed in the paper, as well as the dates next week. So, other than that, unless you have any questions, the rest of my stuff's on the agenda.
Any question for the Public Works Utilities? Hearing none, we'll update Madison Street LRIP grant.
Yes, in front of the green piece of paper, I believe, plus it's on the screen, easier to see up here too. For those of you who remember, this winter we decided to apply for the local road improvement program through the state of Wisconsin for Madison Street from 2nd Avenue east to 8th Avenue west, down there. This grant, there's 2 parts of the grant. There's the 90-10 part of the grant, and there's the 50-50 part of the grant. They award you in that funding based on the level of funding they have and the projects, and they try to maximize as many projects as they can. So just a quick summary, total project that we applied for was $2.538 million. That includes water and sewer and everything. I'm working my way from the bottom up just because it's easier. 2.538 million to do all that. Ineligible costs, $804,300. Ineligible costs is water and sewer. This local road improvement grant does not cover water and sewer. The water and sewer has to be covered by the ratepayers on the water and sewer bill. So that leaves 1.734 left for eligible costs for the grant. We were awarded 50% of that. We got the 50% of the grant. I believe, Russ can correct me if I'm wrong here, nobody in the state got 90%. The highest that was awarded was 70%. And then the rest of us had 50%. So we were awarded $866,898. Okay. One thing about this grant that I guess I forgot to mention too at the last meeting that's important, that's the money that you were awarded to spend. So 50/50, it's not like the CDBG grant where you only get 50% of the total project. So let's just say that our estimated cost of 1.7, say the bids came in at 1.2, you're not going to get 50% of 1.2, you're still going to get the full 866. So you save, if you can cut those costs in design, or you can get a good competitive bid, you do save. That grant could potentially go to 60 or 70 or 80, depending on how the project turns out. But we were awarded $866,898 for the Madison Street project. One thing about this grant project is we have to we have to pay for the entire project up front. So we have to fund the entire $2.538 million, and then once the project is done, completed, and closed out, the state then sends us a check for $866,000. It's not like past projects where as we pay bills, we get grant money, as we pay bills, we get grant money. That's not how this program works. You fund the entire project up front. When it's closed out, you submit final bills to the state and they cut you a check.
When is this project proposed, Matt?
That's to be determined yet. There's a sunset date on this. We have until April or May of 2020, sorry, right.
June 30th,
June 30th, 2027. So we have until 2027 to have this project completely done and get our money. So we essentially have 5 years to get this project taken care of. The next bulletin point on here when I talk about, when we get down to discussion number 3 on the agenda, some of that will meld into this as well.
Does this grant prohibit you from prohibit us from special assessing?
It's all covered in the grant, that's what the grant covers. 50% of
So
the
the
curb
truth,
gutter, street, no
I'm
water.
talking sewer laterals and stuff like that, Steve.
Yeah, no, that's basically.
I was under the impression all state grants, you can't special assess when we were discussing it last fall.
so our practice has been that if we get a grant, we do not special assess. That's been our practice. So it's the key word is there is practice. If you want to special assess, you can special assess.
With the exception of the grant from last year.
So what happens is the total project, you take the grant off, if you chose to special assess. What we would do, what would happen is the project would get bid out, you'd have the total project, you subtract your grant off the total project, and then the only thing that's assessable is the leftover money that falls within your special assessment ordinances.
Now, the grant last year, though,
CBDG compared to LRIP.
Yes,
Okay.
different grants, different.
But that's based on LMI,
So
so
all
the CDBG grant, you
You just can't. That's the one grant you just can't.
because it's based on low income.
Low income, low moderate income, yes.
So this one, past practice has been to not.
We have actually not received an LRIP grant in the 15 years I've been here, so I can't honestly answer for anything that was done before I started working here. But I do, reading through the ordinances, you can special assess if you get a grant, as long as the grant allows that. You can special assess if you get a grant. You just take all the grant dollars off the top, and then what's left over, you are allowed to special assess.
But only anything that qualifies under.
Only anything
ordinance,
that
so you-
qualifies.
You have, that's part of it. And again, as we were sitting there saying, but the general practice has been, if we receive the grant, we just don't,
That's been our general practice.
that's been the general
over the
practice of
years,
the city. Not a rule, general practice.
The other thing to keep in mind too, the ineligible that Matt mentioned, that was in that estimate, that 804,000, water and sanitary sewer. There will more than likely be funding becoming available at some point before you do this project for water and wastewater through the same bill program. This program, through the bill program you're talking about on the other agenda item, for the DOT portion, there's 1.3 billion. So we anticipate about the same for water and sewer. So there'll be some other grants that we'll be pursuing through the DNR Clean Water Fund and the same safe drinking water for the ineligible costs.
In that, those funds, when they become available, we could use those on either one of these projects
Yes.
if they fall within.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep, because it's
So
not.
there is a possibility to
Right.
get, okay.
Right.
But none of that is official.
Yeah, I know, it's
Right.
a different pot of money.
Yep. So we
And they haven't got it in
anticipate-
front of us yet,
Yeah.
or in front of you guys or the state yet to know it
It's
yet.
in the bill that was approved in Washington. The grants just haven't come out yet, but we
Do those pay as
anticipate.
you go? Or is this one's at the end?
It's Clean Water Fund is, you can get reimbursed on a monthly basis for those also. And that's what we're hearing. They'll probably run some of the money through USDA Rural Development also. I don't know about CDBG, we haven't heard on that, but we feel real confident that Wisconsin's money is gonna go to the DNR through the Clean Water Fund and Safe Drinking Water, and they'll probably be federal, going through the federal USDA also. So hopefully this project will.
You are
get
allowed
some more
on any
funding.
of these projects for multiple funding sources.
Yep.
When we talk about the BIL one too, part of the funding source for that or Madison Street would be the TIF district too. There's money available to help offset water, sewer, and these costs through the TIF district as well.
Just can't use federal money for same type of federal project, but like the bill program, that's all federal. Water and sewer is not part of it. You can go after federal and state funding for that. And anything else that's not included. So yeah, exciting time for grants and.
And not to get ahead to the bill too much, but the one thing with that program, because of the way that it's administered, correct, now, they pay for everything up front, and then we just get billed?
Yeah, they bill you as the project goes, but the
Because
majority of it is
okay, well,
after.
two things on that one. It says, so our part of it that wouldn't be included with that, obviously, we need to come up with whatever we need to finance.
Yeah.
But again, we're not charged for that until we get to a certain point in the project.
Correct, right, except for the water and sewer, that wouldn't be part of the bill funding if you get that. That you would have
Because
to,
the other part of it,
pay
the
for
state
that.
would be paying for
right,
to get that, and then we would get, but our part of it, that ineligible, we'd still have to finance as we go,
exactly.
which is,
If you run the water and for the bill program, if you
You're
get
gonna be
that
getting,
grant.
you're gonna be getting bills every month like normal, because water and sewer is the first thing that goes in the ground.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
Right.
be, it's just gonna be a normal project where you're gonna have normal bills.
okay, so specifically on the LRIP one, it's been, again, we've been awarded it. At some point, the next question is about when do we have to agree to accept the money? Are we on a time clock, or is that,
Yeah, that's a good question. Same question that Scott and Matt asked, especially with regarding to the project you're gonna be talking about tonight, the Madison Street project, and whether to put an application in for that, and whether you can afford both of them. Through this program, they did it a little bit different. The award letter that you received and the signed document from the DOT was a little different than in the past. In the past, when you received these LRIP grants, the community signed it, dated it, sent it to the DOT. The DOT signed it, dated it, and then they said, they sent you a letter or an email, your approval to start incurring costs. This round, they changed it and streamlined it. So you received already the signed and dated state municipal agreement that you have in front of you in your green packet. DOT already signed it, so you don't have to sign anything like in the past. You're approved to incur costs. So we talked about that with Matt and Scott with the other project, and we talked to the DOT and confirmed that, okay. Because they talked about it through the webinars with the bill program. If a community has this project and they're gonna apply through the bill for the same project or other projects, because it's 80-20, 80% grant, 20%, so it's a better deal. What do? So the DOT said, all the city needs to do is respond to that email where you received that SMA document, that you're gonna put the LRIP grant on hold until you hear about the bill grant in August or September. So then you could look at both of them from a financial standpoint.
Sure.
Like Matt says, you have 5 years, you have till June 30th, but you just need to let the DOT know that you're not gonna start incurring costs in 2022.
Yeah, until we hear on the other ones.
Until
Yeah,
you hear
that
on
makes
the other
sense.
one.
I'm glad that's the situation.
Yeah.
But the other end of it, if you did accept it, you don't ever do the project, do they fine you for it? Or just does it look
No,
bad? Or does it look bad? Is
It just, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of communities, in fact, out of the pot of money that you received, it was, the pots of money were split up between townships, counties, and cities and villages. There was 100 million in the LRIP-S, and there was 50 million in the LRIP-D. S stands for supplementary. That's where the state legislature, the last 2 cycles, put some extra money in this program. The D is discretionary. The D is 50% funding. The S, like Matt said, was up to 90. No one got 90 this round. The highest they went was 70. You got 50 out of the S. And out of your pot of money for municipalities, there was only 25 million. And there were 24 projects funded statewide. So you were one of 24, with a very large project. So probability, it was very successful. They liked your grant, they liked your project, obviously they scored it well. Under the D program, no one in this program got less than 50, but we applied both D and S, because that was part of the application. If you could accept something less than 90, would you accept the D program at 50? Well, the D awards that came out, there were 27 communities out of 41 that went through the D program, and they got much less than 50. So it was nice, you didn't get thrown into the D, you got thrown into the higher, and you got the higher amount. There were some that were capped at 400,000 that ended up only getting 20 or 30%. And a lot of those communities are probably gonna turn the money back because it doesn't cover their project. But the DOT, because I think we had one that got the 400,000 less amount. And we asked the DOT, okay, if you got less in your project, can you change your project limits and your project costs because you didn't get the 50% funding? And they said yes, but the project can't be less than 50% of your new project limits. So they're flexible. So it's a good program. Hopefully they keep putting money in it. And if you remember, this is the same program we applied for the Laneville and Dryer Street project that didn't get funded. So the saying goes, if you miss it, try and try again. Don't give up.
Any other questions specifically on the LRIP grant? As I said, we will be obviously working with this as we go along, and we'll see how it, and obviously when we hear the report on the VIL grant, that's going to play a little bit into that. So any other questions again on the LRIP? Hearing none, update on the swimming pool design.
Okay, so we've been working diligently over the last couple of weeks on pool design. A lot of information here to digest this evening. The design of the pool has changed compared to the last time. Compared to the last time I was talking to you guys, last time it was just a square, essentially U, and there was a handicap ramp here with a little wall. Due to some code stuff, we actually changed it. We were able to get rid of this little wall here. So this area that you see with all these top features, this is 0 grade. These features can't be in any more than 2 feet of water. So we had these features way down here, so we needed a wall. We needed to quickly drop from 2 down to 3.6, and that's where that handicap ramp came in there that we had to put in there. Well, we were able to put this wing in like this. These are a little bit more of an aesthetically pleasing look than the U shape. We were able to get rid of that wall, spread these features out, keep them in the 2 feet of water, get rid of that handicap ramp. So by eliminating that handicap ramp and that wall, we were able to essentially wing this out at what we felt it would cost the same to do this as it would to have that handicap ramp and that wall in there. And then now we meet ADA code from 0 to 3'6" in a straight shot right through here. A lot more aesthetically pleasing in this photo than the U-shaped ones. As you can see, there is a slide here. That slide is not, there's not a slide on the plan. They have one on here because what we're gonna do is we're gonna build for the future. We're gonna essentially try and put that there. We're gonna build a slab, we're gonna have all the plumbing in the ground, for the future. That slide alone is probably gonna be an extra $40,000 to the project. Plus, slides are very complex when it comes to lifeguards. They change your staffing plan, you need certain slides need lifeguards at the top and lifeguards at the bottom. There's also what we call runouts, where you gotta have so many feet away from the wall this way, you gotta have so much depth of water. There's a lot to a slide. You can't just put a slide in and fall into the water. There's so much code that goes to a slide, but we're trying to work through that code. Climbing wall, diving board, here's all your top features, your little top slides, your bubblers, your jets, your mushrooms, stuff there, our shade structures. Here's our another shade structure in this corner.
Before you get off the pool part of it, talking about, I remember something about, for anybody with, for the handicap, there's a place about, they have a thing with a wheelchair type.
The pool, there's a special wheelchair that you have to go in the water. You can't just take a standard wheelchair and then that comes with it.
And that would actually go right here, wasn't there something like that?
Well, we would store it here, and then if you needed to use it, that's what, this is your wheelchair ramp. That's what this line right here is, essentially your ADA code wheelchair down to the 3'6".
And that's included in the cost. That's something that's been incorporated into the cost.
And that's all, the wheelchair and everything's been incorporated into the cost of the project. This shade structure here, we're actually going to change that a little bit, make it 16 by 30, which will give us a little bit more shade through that building. Otherwise, like I said, 0, 3'6". We get the 4 feet right in here, 4 to 5 feet, and then you got your deep end, which is going to be about 11 feet. Any questions on the actual design of the pool? We'll get into the building here as well. A lot of stuff that we need to talk about.
Are there lights there that just aren't being shown?
No lights, no lighting.
Is that a concern?
Sorry, the only lighting is going to be, there's going to be a light here, and a light here, mostly to light this sidewalk, and then you'll have soffit lighting all the way around the building, and a light down by the parking lot, but no lighting in the pool. We don't do anything at night. Well, there's no anticipated night activities.
No, my question is more of the security and safety.
Yeah, so security and safety would be the soffit lighting around the building. And then we do have, they're not on here, that will probably be on the civil. There'll be a light post here. There'll be a post here, here, and then here on the corner with an arm facing this way for the sidewalk, this way for the sidewalk, this way for the sidewalk. We are actually going to be putting a street light by the crosswalk going across to the football field to better light that area in the evening. That'll all more than likely be on the civil plan set. And there'll be a light down at the parking lot for ADA accessibility coming out of the parking lot up to the building. So yes, there is night lighting. So here's our bathhouse. Bear with me on this one. This is the floor plan of the bathhouse. We'll talk about the floor plan, then I'll switch to some outside views of some places that they previously built to get a better look, and then we'll come back to the floor plan because we need to chat about this concession area at the end of this presentation. But essentially, here's the floor plan to our building. Starting for reference, 85 here, parking lot here, pool here, park over there. So here's our maintenance room. As you can see, this is our chemical. Each chemical has to have its own room. There's our chlorine, there's our pH, access on this is just a concrete pad on the outside. That's not building. Building starts here with the block, okay? So here's our doors, maintenance, our double doors to get in the maintenance room for filter pumping. There's our chemical. This is all the pool filter type stuff that we need to have in here. This is a mechanical chase for all the showers and the urinals, everything over here. Men's bathroom right here, as you can see right now, 2 urinals, 2 toilets, 2 showers, 2 sinks, and then a bench area. Women's, 4 toilets, 2 showers, 2 sinks. Family changing room right here, where the whole family can go in there and change. You have your toilet, you have your sink, you have your shower, there'll be baby changing stuff in there. This is the hallway right here. You come in from the parking lot right here, admissions, you'll go in, men, women's, and you all exit and go out to the pool this way right here. This is a little janitor closet here. Like I said, the breezeway, this is a breezeway where you come in, admissions here, bathrooms, straight out to the pool. Have to have self-closing, self-latching doors as part of code. So there'll be 2 doors right here that's what this line and this line is. They'll self-close and self-latch, or you can prop them open. That's a code, that's a pool code, that has to be there. So, here's our admissions, our lifeguard area, your concession area, and then your outside family bathroom on the end. This is keep in mind, this is ever changing as code. This has changed probably 5 times in 2 days, right? One other thing that we just kind of saw today, we might have to add more showers. Pool code requires 4 women's showers, 4 men's showers for the capacity size of our pool. So if you think you can shrink this by eliminating things, everything in here is a code. Okay, you have to have so many toilets, you have to have so many top showers, you have to have everything in here. This is bare minimum code. So the pool capacity dictates the code that we have to follow as far as toilets, as far as showers, outside drinking fountains. That's code. That has to be there. These are outside showers. We're trying to see if these outside showers suffice for our total of 4 and 4, or if they have to be inside. These are outside lockers right here, so you can see our outside showers, you can see our drinking fountains. This is storage. Like I said, you want to store the wheelchair, we'll have to store the pool vacuum cleaner. We have all of our morning swim club stuff that has to be stored in general storage.
Is that outside bathroom in the upper corner, is that accessible from the outside or inside of the pool?
Outside only.
Oh.
If it's accessible from the inside, then there's a whole separate code that we have to have with showers and all that stuff.
So then is that locked when the pool is not open?
We could have the conversation that it could be a park bathroom during the summer when the pool is not open. Could be, yes.
And do you need a bathroom on the exterior?
Do we need one?
Like, if you're looking for more space, can you get rid of that?
Yes, we could get rid of that if we're looking for
So
more
we're looking
space.
for shower space.
Yeah.
Adjust that.
Also, but one thing too, that you want to keep in mind is, what you don't want is general public having to come through the building to use the bathroom, because they can't get past these doors without paying. So essentially, they have no bathroom access if we're selling concessions out on this patio over here. So that's part of the reason for the outside bathroom.
So if you got parents up there watching the little ones from outside, they need to go to the restroom.
We'll have to walk down the street a little bit.
Yeah, or they gotta walk down the other
There's
one.
one right down the road.
Would this serve as a storm shelter then for the campers?
No,
No, okay.
that is not rated for a storm shelter. It'd be an extra $200,000. I asked that question. It'd be a couple extra $100,000 to rate this as a storm shelter. Also, this is not a building that can be heated. This is a summer building only. If you want this building to potentially be heated in the future, That's Wisconsin energy code that you now have to follow, that raises the price tag. So this is a seasonal building only.
On either end of the breezeway that comes through, are those gates or doors?
Right here is a gate. These are gates right here, and then your door.
The doors are there.
Lockable door there.
They're there, so those are gates.
Correct. You'll have windows here, here, window here, and window here. Anything inside facing the pool is just gonna be a window. Anything outside facing, we have to have it gated too. So we'll either have to have the window and a roll-up door, or just a roll-up door. That's something we have to discuss.
So explain what the gate looks like for the main entrance.
I'll do you one better.
Are we talking something a bird can fly through?
No, it's a roll-up door.
Oh,
Like
gotcha.
school has on their
Sure.
concession stands at the
Yep.
softball field, the roll-up door.
So it's just all the way open or all the way
Yeah,
closed?
all the way
when
open
business
or all the
is
way
open?
closed, correct.
Are we, with the new building, are we responsible for putting in security, like cameras or anything like that? Is that something that's code?
No code. Code has nothing to do with security cameras, that's a personal preference. So here's what essentially your gate will look like, just a roll-up door. And this is what just some ideas of what the building is pretty much gonna look like this on the outside. So essentially coming up from the parking lot, our building will be a little bit different, a lot bigger. But coming up from the parking lot, you'll have your roll-up door here, and you'll have your concession window there. You can pay inside or outside. I have some pictures. Here's essentially what your outside showers, what your outside showers and your outside drinking fountains will look like right there. Just some easier general pictures to see versus a plan sheet. Here's essentially what the front of our building will look like. So this is the side facing the parking lot. So they'll come up the sidewalk here, Durand Aquatic Center. We have glass block windows, metal roof, smooth concrete block with a rock face finish. So this is the front of what our building would currently look like the other ones there. Here is the park side. This would be your concession side. Here's what concession window and the bathroom into the door would look like. Here's your pool side and your Highway 85 side. So this is facing the pool. Again, concession stand window, lifeguards, the roll-up door for the breezeway, your showers, and here's your lockers, and then the door to the storage. There's another door over here for the maintenance room. This is what it essentially will look like on 85, our maintenance room doors and our chemical room doors.
So the water flow is to the right of that door then?
Yeah, the waterfall, this concept doesn't match the layout because we moved a few things, but I think the water fountain, if you looked at the plan layout, was actually over here.
Right next to the water.
And the showers are over here now, so. This is one of the first concepts, but it still shows you what the outside of the building is.
So you said $200,000 if you wanted to make a storm shelter out of it?
That's my approximate, yes.
Question is, should we have a conversation with the school at all about possibly doing that with them? Being that we have softball,
Track
baseball, track. When there's a storm comes in, they have nowhere to go.
Because you're
Just a thought.
you can't even have WIAA events without
We
a
can have
storm
a
shelter,
regional, but
right?
we can't have a sectional
There you
track
go.
because of the storms. We don't necessarily need it, but I'm just saying that as
Well,
a city, it might be something.
So
200.
these are conversations you can have, but what I'm gonna caution you on, you didn't give me enough time to have
No,
those
I get you.
conversations. So I don't have enough time to have those conversations and turn this into a storm shelter and get this out for bid in June. So if you want this year's construction, it just ain't gonna happen. trying to be honest here.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to, we don't have the time to have those conversations and get this thing out for bid in the next month and a half. Unfortunately, I agree with you, we should have those conversations, but this is kind of the part of, we're really on a time crunch in engineering. We should actually, this engineering should essentially be a year process, not a 3 or 4 month process.
I'm guessing the softball field structure is not a storm shelter.
No, not a storm shelter either, no. Unfortunately. So one thing that I do want to discuss tonight, I need a direction from our engineers. I'll leave, this is not the most up-to-date floor plan. I'll leave this one up here because it will suffice for this conversation. We're stuck on the concession area right now. If you want to have a concession stand, we have to build it to code. So they're asking me what we're going to serve out of this concession stand. Code says I serve anything hot. Number one, I serve anything. I gotta have a license from the state of Wisconsin to sell anything out of that building because we're open for more than a certain amount of days a year, whether it's prepackaged or not. And the license depends on, if it's just prepackaged, it's one kind of license. If it's hot, it's another kind of license. If it's prepackaged, like let's just say we're selling chips, prepackaged, I mean chips, pop, and candy. That's a small license, and then we do not need a 3-bay sink, we do not need a grease trap, and we do not need some other plumbing code that goes with that. If you want this concession stand to be able to sell a hot dog, to be able to sell a piece of pizza, to be able to sell nachos, to be able to sell a slushie, you now fall into a different classification, a food license, and now you're also required to have a 3-bay sink, a grease trap, and we are gonna have to change our plumbing because we have to have 140-degree water to that 3-bay sink, but we only want 105-degree water to our showers, so there's some extra mixing valves and things that I have to add into the building. So that's the easy part. The hard part is based on the square footage that we have in our budget, we can't fit a 3-bay sink into our current concession stand and be able to have, again, this is not the correct layout, this is one that they were experimenting with. We can't fit a 3-bay sink and have enough room for a pop cooler and a freezer to sell ice cream. So if you want a full-fledged concession stand, what they're asking tonight is the only way to fit that in there is to extend the building about 20 inches, which adds about 75 square feet to the, 75 square feet to the building. It'll add about $12,000 to the cost. Plus the 3-bay sink was not in the estimate, which is another $3,000–4,000. So I need a direction to go down as to what we're going to do with the concession stand.
Now, is it right to the concession stand both inside the pool and outside the pool?
The only way to get in the building is through.
No, I'm a kid.
There's a window here and a window
Okay.
here, yes, inside and outside, to buy something out of the concession stand, yes.
Not pretty much necessary to have anything hot. I mean, I remember going to the pool, you get done, you got a frozen Snickers bar and pop. I mean, that was.
So
that was
I'm not gonna disagree with you, but now what we need to think is when we field questions about can I have a birthday party, that means no crock pots, that means no roasters, that means no nothing allowed in the building. Cause you're not.
And we
because
can't
you're
go
not
back in
following-
time later to add things like that.
Correct.
What does it do for staffing if you have the sinks and the hot food? And
Well, regardless of whether we have that or not, we're gonna need somebody in
Yeah,
that room.
absolutely.
That, we just need the one person in that room, kind of regardless whether we have the hot or the cold.
Well, the food can't be brought in from outside no matter what, so.
No, but we could have, say, a walking taco or a nacho, or a hot dog or a pizza, if any of that ever came to us in the future, the answer has to be no. So I wanna make that clear, If we go with this prepackaged route, you're never going to be able to have anything other than prepackaged food out of that concession stand. So again, I don't run a food business, so I have no idea how much revenue you may or may not be missing out on. I don't have any way of calculating that. So I can't sit here and say if we have hot food, we're gonna make 10 grand a year. If we have prepackaged food, we're only gonna make 3 grand a year. I have no way to.
How much did you say the extra cost was, 12 to 20?
It'd be $12,000 for to extend the building, and then 3 grand for the 3-bay sink and the grease trap.
So less than $20,000 on a $2.3 million project to have hot food for the future, I think, my opinion is do it.
I agree.
Well, one thing on this, being the fact it's administrative office area, is there any possible way of taking part of that so we wouldn't have to extend the building? Is it possible?
No, so you would end up, it's a question I can ask them, we'd have to narrow this entire admin building down. You'd be you'd be making this bigger in the process as well, unless it
How wide is that right now?
a wall like this.
I mean, that's not
That is
7 foot.
7 foot 4 this way, so pretty close to 8
This is
foot.
7'4".
Yeah, you got 7'4" right there,
Now, you talked about,
inside the inside.
you talked about different hot water temperatures and you have
Correct.
additional costs there too, that we haven't talked about?
Yes, but I don't have any number, like a mixing valve is $1,000. I know that, depending on how many of those I make.
What about a separate hot water heater?
It'll all be on the same hot water heater. You'll just, instead of having probably 100 gallon, you'd have 150 gallon, which is a little extra cost too. But it'll all be on the and the whole building will be on the same hot water heater.
But I'm saying-
You just regulate heat through mixing
I'm
valves.
saying rather than run the risk of running hot water into the showers, why don't you just have a smaller hot water
separate.
heater alone in there?
Correct, that was a question we asked, that I asked about a tankless hot water heater in there. You can do that, but we don't have room for that right now. You could do that, we just have to have room for that. We can do that in there, have its own separate hot water heater, but again, I don't have room for that.
Can't put that in like your utility room and just pipe it there?
Kind of defeats the purpose of campus though, doesn't it, having it that far away?
I'm not saying that.
No,
Which is another, I mean, yeah, look at all options. I mean,
Again, code dictates a lot of this stuff too, so I don't wanna sit here and tell you I can do something, and then the
Right.
plumbing code, when I dive into it next week, says, no, I can't do that. I'm not, I'm a code guy for municipal waterworks, not commercial plumbing. So I know enough to be dangerous, but that's about it.
So you need a consensus from us on what?
I need a consensus from you guys on if you want to plan for the future for hot food and extend the building by 20 inches to put 3-bay sinks in and proceed with that option, or do you want to stay with the option we're at and just do prepackaged food?
And it's interesting about this subject, because this is something we haven't discussed yet. We always talked about a concession stand, but this is the first time when, now we get down to the details.
And all of this just came about yesterday afternoon into today, so it's not, I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to too many people.
Where are we on funding? You're at making 20 grand?
Is this adding an extra 20
Yeah,
grand?
so what it would do is, it would add,
It's coming.
so what it would do is add 20 grand on your projected cost. But when the bids come in, you could be below your projected cost even with the extension of this building. So that's kind of a question that I can't actually answer
But that's the
until
thing,
we bid it
you're
all.
already, if you go over percentage-wise,
Until you get to
20,
the thing.
on the upper end, $20,000 isn't,
Yeah, and the same thing as the two folks down this table just said, in the scope of a $3 million project. to have that option available.
One thing we've also been doing is telling everybody it's a $3 million project. If you actually look at our projected cost, it's not 3 million, it's only like 2.9.
We'll go close enough for government.
I talk projected costs.
Projected
what I-
In today's world, I don't really like projections.
Like prepackaged, does that include like cold sandwiches in a plastic bag? I mean, that you can have
Anything in a
microwave.
package, yeah, so I can
Microwave
sell,
duck wagon.
yeah, I can sell you a ham sandwich out of the bag like I get at the gas station or grocery store, as long as it's in a package and you open it yourself.
I think in the long term, it's more beneficial to add on, make it hot.
So you make frozen pizzas, have a pizza warmer for
Because
local businesses,
I just wonder how much you're gonna use them, but
a lot,
it
I
might be
think.
huge, it could be, you just don't know, I guess.
Through my conversations with the state today, he's down in Madison, he goes, in all of my travels, you'd be foolish not to put a full-fledged concession stand in there, because you'd be shocked. Everywhere I go, the people that flock to a food concession stand,
It's nice to have something to
like he goes, that's my 2 cents.
But I will say this,
Go ahead.
once you do it though, nobody can bring food in at all anymore. 'Cause
No,
once
you
you're
can't bring
licensed-
outside food in because we are a licensed food vendor. So again, going this hot package route too, new permits, $500 upfront new permit fee, and then it's probably about $300 a year to renew that license. So,
But there's also a lot of, and not that the pool is supposed to be a babysitter by any means, but I think there's a lot of people that drop their kids off and then kind of may go wherever while the kids are shopping or kids are swimming, that it's nice for them to not have to worry about their kids needing to then walk to McDonald's or Panther Drive or Quick Trip to get something to eat. Instead, they can get something.
Well, just look at the camping and stuff too in the park. You don't even have to be at the pool to walk up and use the concession stand.
Right.
True.
Does it require somebody with some type of permit
Serve safe?
to work the place?
no.
No, Matt would just hold the license and
Yeah.
anybody would.
Alan, you want
I work the food service, there will need to be somebody on staff that has a license, a food service license from the state.
Yeah, within our pool director.
Right,
Well, he would be
which is taking another class, and I don't know how long the class is, it's a day class, I think. One other thing, if you're gonna have hot dogs, things like that, and you got the cleanup station, those machines have to be cleaned and sanitized every night, so there's some extra holdover time if you're gonna run those right to the end of the pool, because they're have to shut those off, drain them out, and clean them every night too, so clean and sanitize. You just can't leave your slusher machine, well, the slusher machine might be a little bit, but if you have soft serve ice cream, that has to be disassembled and sanitized every night. The hot dog roller grill has to be cleaned if you have a roller grill, and that's usually how they do hot dogs.
Yeah, and that's the reason for what he's saying, is the reason why the three-bay sink is in the
Correct.
code, because you have your hot, cold, sanitized, or cold, hot, sanitized, however they reference that.
Okay, what's the consensus? I mean, this is, around the table.
Sell hot?
I think you know the right first time, I guess, even though you might not sell stuff, but, yeah.
I think with the new pool, obviously, is gonna cater more to the young children as well, but you're gonna sell food.
Okay. That seems to be the consensus. The two new members sitting back there, you're going to be dealing with this as you go. Any opinions?
To be honest with you, I've already been approached by somebody who says, if you put a concession stand in, is that going to be in direct competition with the Dairy Queen and the Panther Drive, and they were concerned about that.
It will be a little bit.
Well, a little bit, but I don't think people are going to stop.
That- I'm just telling you what I was,
No, and we understand. That conversation's actually happened quite a bit
yeah.
on that. So, Mr. Weisenbeck?
I agree to do it early.
Get it
Do it right away.
Yeah, if you have any qualms that you're gonna use that at all, or any ideas you're gonna use that at all, put it in now, because it's a lot easier now than later.
The other question is,
It won't
if
be a later.
if you put it in, the other question about, I understand about our staff doing it. Could you find an outside vendor that you could hire to come in and run it?
They have to be licensed though.
No, and yeah, you'd have to be someone who's licensed and so and so, but that would be, again, an option that would be available.
That's what they do in my
Yeah,
vote.
so, but keep in mind.
But they need to have the facility to do it.
You cannot compare this to softball fields, baseball fields, you cannot compare this to a concession stand at a sporting event. Because this has to be ran like a restaurant because you're holding a restaurant license. So don't compare this to a concession stand at a sporting event. Because as I was explained to by the state today, if you're only open for a day or 2 days or 3 days, you don't have the rules like this. So you can't, if so-and-so softball team wants to come in here and sell concessions and take that money, can't happen. Because that's
No,
not.
but that's not what I was thinking. I
know, but I'm just saying,
a professional.
I just want everybody to
come in and contract
understand
with
that
somebody.
you are now a licensed, I'm gonna say you're a licensed restaurant, but you are a licensed restaurant, licensed food vendor. You are the only one that can do anything in here as far as selling and taking money.
I think we would want to keep any profit that we possibly make.
Yeah, that was one of the intentions, that we would
Put into it.
have some to help increase the
Now, it'd
profit.
be different if you're bidding it out for vendors to, you want to go to bid it out, you run your food deal through there, it's different, but you gotta make money on it, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Now, the vendors are a different thing, like we could have Coke come in, or you could have different vendors come in and supply us with different pop machines and things like that.
You're talking
They
about
still do
renting
it.
out the Panda Express.
Yeah, no, we can't do that.
Because you hold the restaurant license.
That would
Okay.
be cool, though.
You'd have to have a separate interest in having a separate restaurant.
Okay, so I think we got a consensus.
Consensus?
Let's continue to design it with the hot food. Okay, anything else, Matt?
That's all I have on
Any questions about what we all just heard, whether it's the concession stand or any part of the pool? As we said, this is still a work in progress,
Yes.
so they're always making, but again, to try to meet all the codes, to meet everything we need to do, and to do that, so. Okay, next we have discussion possible action regarding the request for a statement of qualifications for engineering services for the BIL grant Main Street project.
Okay, so we have, we're going to apply for the bipartisan infrastructure law grant for Main Street. This is federal dollars, so federal dollars comes lots of hoops. I sent out a statement of qualifications, which you see up here. It's a 4-page document. I won't basically read the whole thing, but this whole document basically got sent out to a list of consultants. What you see on this page got sent out to Cedar Corp, Ayers, SEH, Cooper Engineering, MSA, and Core Inc. They had until March 23rd to respond to us with a statement of qualifications for their engineering firm to be able to fill out the grant paperwork and potentially do the engineering for our Main Street project. We got one statement of qualifications back out of all these engineers, and that was Cedar Corp by the 23rd. So tonight at the meeting, part of the process is we had to rate a rating sheet. We had to rate Cedar Corp's statement of qualifications. We did that this evening, and the Public Works Committee basically made a recommendation to move forward with Cedar Corp to start the grant process for the BIL grant for the Main Street project. Did I miss anything?
Do you want to give the quick spiel on the idea of making this work with the LRIP?
Correct. So the idea of making this work with the LRIP, this grant has to be completed and submitted by June 1st. And as Russ said, hopefully August, September, I'm saying October is when we'll hear about whether we are awarded this grant. This grant is, technically, they call it an 80-20 grant. So by October, if we find out that we get this grant and we get this grant, what Scott and I and the mayor discussed for funding was Madison Street is not in our funding plan. Main Street is in our funding plan. We have $1.5 million in our funding plan to do Main Street. If we can get this BIL grant and our portion of Main Street is less than $800,000, we will have our portion of Main Street and our portion of Madison Street combined would then equal $1.5 million, and we would essentially be able to do both projects within our funding plan over the next 5 to 10 years. The BIL grant, if we get awarded, will also have a sunset date of 2027. So both projects would potentially need to be completed by 2027.
But not at the same time.
Not at the same time. So essentially, if we get this BIL grant, everything works out to where the city's portion is less than $800,000. Both projects, our funding comes in at $1.5 million, which is what we have in our funding plan, and we decide to do both projects, then we'll sit down and get a timeline of, we're gonna do Madison Street in, say, 24 and Main in 26, or whether it's 25 and 26, or 24 and 25, and so on and so forth. Yes, sir.
Looking at this sheet, 1.6 is the city's portion for the Madison Street project, correct?
No, what I'm talking is general fund dollars only. So 800,000 of that is general dollars, $800,000 is water and sewer. So as long as the general portion of Main Street comes in at less than $800,000, then the general fund portion alone would be less than 1.5 million, and that's what we have budgeted in the general fund portion.
And the other thing that we would be looking at is for any water and sewer part of both of these projects, to see what becomes available potentially in grant money to cover those costs. Obviously, when we do them, it still comes out of our revenue funds, but to see if there's any possibility of some more of this BIL money for clean water, whatever, can we possibly take advantage of that to cover those costs?
As well as TIF. We do have
The TIF.
We do have a TIF that we could use to fund, and TIF can fund water and sewer as well, because it's an infrastructure to the TIF district. So, not saying it can fund it all, that's, Scott will have to work those numbers, but the TIF is an option to help fund this project as well.
And the one thing about it, moving forward to this, there's no cost to the city at this point. This is just applying for the grant, or going through the next steps that we need to do it. And again, we sort of wait out a little bit, find out where we're at. We get awarded. If we don't get awarded, make our decisions there, and then also see what else is potentially available. How popular has this grant program been, Russ?
It's popular,
Are some
but
people scared away because it's a Fed program?
exactly, with all the Fed paperwork and the additional engineering expense with the Fed paperwork, it needs to be $500,000 project and above. Does it make sense for smaller projects?
Probably not.
Because the engineering percentage even jumps up higher with smaller projects. And then, especially with a lot of communities needing assistance with the grant application, going through this QBS SOQ process is new for a lot of small communities, and the time frame again is really short with June 3rd. By the time everyone goes through this SOQ QBS process, we're starting to get calls from people, can you help us with this? No, you don't have enough time to complete the process. So the city started it early, where there will be enough time to do a good grant application. And, with the money that's in the program, if the DOT doesn't get enough applications by June 3rd, they have to give their share back to the feds, and it might go to another state. So they're asking everyone to submit applications that your application won't be a wasted application, so they're kind of telling us something. You know, and then the question is, again, this program, similar to the LRIP, there's different pots of money. The big pot of money is with the standard STP, Surface Transportation and Bridge Program, that goes to communities that have a collector road or higher. You're in the other category that has 15% of the 1.3 billion, which is about 194 million. For smaller communities that don't have a collector, they never had that in this program. They added it this round. So then we question, probably not gonna be enough applications statewide to take the, the 1.1 billion. So is the state gonna then maybe increase that 15% in your program, put more money to it? Because there's probably gonna be more money in the smaller pot of money again than in the bigger pot. We don't know. Or are they gonna do another solicitation in another year or two that the feds will let them go out for it, applicate? We don't know. So, but yeah, a lot of them are just passing on it because the Fed programs scare them. Anything
And one of the main
federal
reasons
wise.
to me tonight was to get this decision made because of the fact that basically we're on a pretty tight, and we're gonna have this done by June 1st.
Yes.
And we don't do that, so.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's why you didn't receive other SOQs. All the consultants only have so much capacity. If you think of all the county highway projects that are coming out in this program, all of the townships that are coming out in this program, the cities and villages, there's just only so much capacity that everyone can do and can commit to one, get the applications done, and two, complete the design and construction within that 5-year period. We're not submitting on other SOQs we're getting from our non-existing clients. We just don't have the capacity either. Our existing clients come first before we take on anyone new.
So again, the recommendation of the Public Works Committee would be that after reviewing the statement of qualifications and so on for Cedar Corporation, and that we're basically saying we'd recommend that we go ahead with the grant application.
I'll make a motion that based on the statement of qualifications submitted by Cedar Corporation, that we go ahead and hire them for engineering services for the BIL grant on the Main Street project.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. It's on the floor for any more discussion. Any more questions? As we said, once we get through the process and we find out our award, then we've got a lot of work to do to decide where we're going to go. But again, if getting this grant would give us a lot of options as far as moving forward with 1 or 2 projects. Is there any more questions? Hearing none, roll call this, please.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
Councilmember Rainwater.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
All 6 in favor.
Motion's agreed to.
Thank you very much. And with that decision, I can now state that there will not be a fee from Cedar Corp to help you with this application.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Oh, that's really nice.
Okay, let's pay the bills. Just a reminder to everybody, reorganization meeting coming up next Tuesday at 5:30. And then 6:30 for the regular meeting on the 27th.
No, that's the organizational. You're on the student base right
Are
now.
you off, Brian? Are you off?
27th.
Additional walls in, but
Anyway,
as of now.
so we'd like to make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the vouchers. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Schofield.
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
All six in favor.
They are approved. Any other business? Otherwise, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.